Hi, welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice every day and share my tips so we can all get better at the casino. This is the third part of our series that hopefully, if you're seeing an issue, you can fix it. We talked about our whole first series about watching stuff in the air on what that looks like, so how you can fix that. The next part was about the landing, how they land. This part right here is very important at a casino because it's how the dice are reacting once they land. Once again, it's going to be the same fixes as I discussed with the air and the landing, but recognizing what caused this issue and being able to adjust at the table or in your practices is very important. So whether you're throwing and you look and you can see that the dice are in the air, what's doing it, or when they land, how they land, what's doing that. But this is what they do after they land. Do they split apart? Do they go to the left and the right? That's what we're going to discuss today. Today we're talking about what happens when both dice land to the left and the right. We are not, in this series of the dice action, we're not going to talk at all about missing the target. So if we had a whole series about what happens when you hit the target, overshoot the target, or short the target, or to the left and the right of the target, if they're together and you're throwing it, the dice action on those throws will be fine. They should be good. We're just assuming if you miss the target, they're still together and they're still being thrown and they landed properly. What I'm talking about, not on missing the target, I'm talking, say you hit the target exactly where you wanted it, but they did not land right. They landed, we talked about that landing, hitting that point. Well, when you do hit that point, when they land, that's what's causing them to go, well, that was bad. They split and talk to each other. This is what happens when they go to the left or the right. It's really based on the landing. They hit the edges wrong, or they're hitting the point and they all both go to the left or they go to the right, or they're perfectly thrown together like this, but that point is the first contact with the dice and it sends them to the left or sends them to the right. So when you're at the casino or you're home and you're throwing the dice, what's causing that? We're going to get back to discussing that from our other video, that a lot of times we're at a casino, you have people here, you have chips, your edge is at a different angle, and sometimes you just throw it at an angle. So it's your major muscles that are coming across. And that's something you can fix by your daily practice, making sure you're leaning over and coming down and throwing straight down the line you want to throw it at. So that's the fix for that, because if they're landing at an angle, it's two things. Your major muscles are coming across your body, right? Or under your body. Maybe you're curving inward like this, which is causing the dice to turn, and when they land, they're landing almost sideways. Or your thumb pointing. So you may have had a perfect throw like this, but maybe your thumb twisted, and when you're looking up at your thumb, it's over here or over here, and it's not straight. So when you see those dice go left or right, the two problems you can correct immediately at the casino is making sure you're over your dice. No matter how much you have to lean over, you have to have a straight pendulum for your large muscle groups to take over that throw. And you have to ensure that that thumb is pointing at the target you want it to do, at the end of the throw. So how do you fix that? Get back to basics, right? You've done 10,000 throws. You're coming to that casino already with the muscle memory and the mental memory in your books on how to do it. The only thing you need to do is make adjustments at the table so that your throw can be as accurate as it was at home. So what does that look like at the table? If you have to lean all the way over, we talked about the 9 spots. If this table is too far over to get a flat surface, you have to practice that at home so you can be prepared for that, right? If you're always throwing at your table like this, right down the middle here, and then you go and have another rail that's 5 inches higher and you can't get over, or your corner is extra round and you have to be out here, that's going to cause a problem with your throw. I almost wouldn't throw at that point if I can't find a target zone that I'm happy with. So when you're practicing at home and you have to lean way over, you still want to have your dice right underneath you. You still want to throw straight down a line somewhere. And you still want that thumb pointing at that place that your target eye is looking at. Okay? If it's not, and you're trying to lean over something, and your tendency is to either curve it like this, or overcompensate like this, or when you release your wrist twisted and your thumb's up or your thumb's back. Those are corrections you can see based on when you're seeing these dice hit the floor and jump both together on the left or jump both together on the right. If they're splitting, that's a whole different series we're going to talk about, but we're just talking about them both going to the left and the right. And that's getting back to basics of the angle of your throw. The making sure the thumb is pointing to where you want and releasing, and your arm is over the top doing a nice pendulum so that the centrifugal force can take those dice. So I know when we're at the casino, and I've talked about that, if my boys see him go to the left or the right, I'm not throwing straight on, and I can fix that. And sometimes my buddy at the end, and they'll both be looking, and we're cringeworthy because it may be a 7, but at least they'll say, hey, those went to the left. Sometimes I'm working on that target, and I'm not seeing where the dice went. So verbal communication with your team constantly without being offended, because they're like, hey, I saw a problem with your finger, I saw a release. Those are good tips. Those are things you want to go and say, okay, that's what's going on here, let's go back. So our dice crew, we meet weekly and we do throws, and if we see something goofy while we're throwing, we talk about it and we say, hey, you flicked your wrist, or you spun it, or they went into the corner. What's causing that? Let's fix it. So once again, you guys have to be able to have some great buddies that can watch these videos, recognize what's going on. Hopefully all 4 of you get together often to be able to verbally communicate what's going on so that you can have a successful trip to Vegas. And that's what we do. So if I see something wrong, I may say something to somebody. Now, when they're at the table, it may not be the perfect opportunity to do that. Seeing them go into the corner, just recognizing, hey, they went into the corner, hopefully my buddy knows, okay, I got to throw this a little straighter. That's different. But when we are done with the table and we go debrief, we'll talk a lot about, hey, a couple times I saw you flicked your wrist. You don't always want to irritate somebody at the table when they're doing it, but I know some teams do. But I know if I'm in a zone, nobody's talking to me for a while, and then when we get down and we're having some Starbucks and relaxing and talking, it'll be like, hey, a couple of times I noticed you changed your grip in the middle, or you changed the way you threw it, and we'll talk through that. So Not only is it important to know what's going left and right, but here's just another little tip on when you're working with a team to be able to accept criticism and try and know that it's only for us to get better. And hopefully everybody can learn from it. And when we go back to the casino for the next series, you can improve on that a little bit better. So hopefully this helped. Left and right, it's the same problems you see in the air. If your arms are coming across or your thumb's not pointing, you're going to have problems. Join me tomorrow on our dice action. We're going to talk about what happens when the dice split apart. They like go not together. They all go all over the place. And we're going to discuss what caused that and how to fix it. So join me tomorrow on our dice action part of the dice splitting. And as always, with my craps crew, I hope they're practicing and working on getting better so we can throw for a long, long time.